Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, things of which have no desire for pronouns, whatever you choose. I'm getting canceled. All right, so I want to talk about something really important. We've talked about this for a while. We've been analyzing it for a while, but no one seems to be really picking up on it. And it's time to try to help change that. My man, Batman Stonks, someone who does some amazing work, who, if you're not following, you should. He's been doing some amazing work, especially in regards to the cost to borrow and the seeming suppression of those values. We're going to go over what cost to borrow means in a second. In the meantime, do me a favor, like the video, sub, I fucked that up, like, sub, and fondle my balls. Let's get to this. So CTB stands for cost to borrow. It's a very simple metric. We're going to do a fresh slate here. Cost to borrow, or CTB, is the literal cost to borrow. This is normally instated by prime brokers, aka banks. These are the guys who do all the dirty work typically. But banks will typically have surpluses of inventory on hand, and they will be the ones who lend shares out typically. They also facilitate a lot of trades for hedge funds. Now, the cost to borrow is very simple. It's equal to the notional value of the loan being taken on. So if you have 100 shares at $100, you do the math, and then assign an APR to that or an interest. Sometimes these are variable. Most cases they're technically variable, but by the original definition of variable that I meant, I was speaking in terms of the actual some chronological interval at which that cost to borrow would go up. But there is actually an ebb and flow to this metric. So typically you will see that the cost to borrow in rational terms will begin down here. This is your cost to borrow. You'll typically see people start their loan down here. And as time goes on, you'll see it float up. And then you have the ebb and flow of the market where the cost to borrow is digging into the alpha of the position that you took to short. And in which case you would start to go and buy your shares back. You would return them. And then because there is now an increase in supply of shares shortable, cost to borrow goes down. This is an ebb and flow of the market. As Jim or Bam would put, short positions are a natural shock absorber in the markets. That is why. So the oddity here is the cost to borrow for AMC is nowhere near this level. Now, there's some logistics to this, and in fact, it has been going down continuously for quite some time. There's some logistics to this, but I want to stay keen here. Whether you like Ortex or not, they still are reporting industry data that is regarded as correct. I don't agree with everything. I don't think everything is 100% correct. In this fucked up market, you never will have anything that's 100% correct. There's too much fragmentation. We talked about that. Feel free to click on an old video about it. But regardless of that, these are numbers being reported from Standard & Poor's, who is one of the leaders of the entire securities lending market. So Ortex, whether you agree with them or not, are not the ones at fault here. If there is any fault to be had, I say that if respectfully. It's the data provider. Ortex is just making it pretty. That's it. They have some of their own in-house formulae and whatnot, but that's it. My point being here is that the cost to borrow on AMC is inverted like the yield curve. It's been going down, which makes no sense. And this is what Batman has been digging into a lot. And this needs to be talked about. And it's the same thing for GameStop. It's the same thing for GameStop. And it doesn't make any sense. That this is uncannily ridiculous. There looks to be some life starting to come back to it, but the cost to borrow is absurdly low. Now let's also talk about something that no one will talk about, I've been talking about this for a while, and that is the on loan duration. We're on GameStop here. We'll check out AMC in a second. Where'd that go? These loans are lasting for not even a 20th of a day. This is 0.05. That's 5% of a day that these loans last. Now, I've been asking Ortex repeatedly to please give us a log of share loans, the time that they took place and the amount for, and the status of them. Are they being taken out or returned? With some identifier to them, if possible, if that exists. Given this market structure, probably not. But this is absurd. Half day, 4% of a day. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. This makes 0 sense. Here's AMC. It is so uncannily ridiculous that there is something that is not right. Something is not right. Let's see, on loan, and I want new. Here you go. Quarter of a day, a tenth of a day, less than a day, quarter, day and a quarter, tenth of a day, half a day. Now, this makes no sense at all. Meanwhile, the cost to borrow, that's the minimum. The cost to borrow, minimum, is sometimes even negative. So we have people being paid to hold shares. This is implicit of perhaps a toxic asset in terms of the industry's perspective. Everything is inverted like our yield curve, and it's absolutely preposterous. Here's your cost to borrow, and then here's your average age on loan. These should be the exact opposite of where they're at. Literally the exact opposite. Cost to borrow should be going up, and the average age should be higher. It's absurd. So this needs to be talked about. If you want change, if you want to see a squeeze of some sort, buying and holding will not do it. You need to dig, and you need to be loud about problems that exist in the current system and try to affect change. Because it's these market mechanics that are allowing for the absurdities that are committed in our markets every single day. And no one is willing to talk about it. No one is willing to talk about it. So if you want something new, if you want something to change, this is where you start. That is all.